If you've spent the last few evenings scrolling through endless speaker reviews, comparing specs, and still feel a little lost about which system actually gives you the movies, music, and games you love without breaking the bank, you're not alone. I've been there, staring at a wall of numbers and wondering if the best label really translates to a better night on the couch. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this video I'm going to walk through a real-world look at the focal Vestia No3 floor-standing speakers paired with the RXV4A 5.2-channel AV receiver, so you can decide if this bundle makes sense for your living room or if you'd be better off looking elsewhere. First off, let's set the stage. Most people buying a new home theater system are trying to replace the thin, tinny sound that comes from a TV or a cheap soundbar. The goal is usually threefold: clearer dialogue for movies, richer music that feels more live, and a gaming experience that doesn't suffer from lag or muddy audio cues. The focal Vestia No3 speakers are marketed as a step up from entry-level bookshelf speakers, promising a wider soundstage and more detail. The RXV4A receiver throws in a handful of modern tricks: 8K HDMI, HDR10+, a Cinema DSP 3D mode, and a compressed music enhancer, all of which sound impressive on paper. The question is whether those promises hold up once you plug them in and start watching your favorite content. I set these up in a typical mid-size living room, about 12 feet long, with a 75-inch 4K TV mounted on the wall. The floor-standing speakers sat on the left and right sides of the TV, a little off the floor as the manufacturer suggests, and I used the included speaker cables to connect them to the receiver. No subwoofer was part of the bundle, so I added a modest 10-inch passive sub from a previous setup just to get some low-end punch for movies. The receiver's 5.2-channel configuration meant I could drive the two front speakers, the two rear surrounds. I used two bookshelf speakers I already owned, and the sub. That's a pretty standard arrangement for most households, so the hardware fit right in. One of the first things I noticed was the ease of getting the video side sorted. The RXV4A's 8K HDMI inputs accepted the 4K HDR signal from my streaming box without any extra configuration, and the HDR10+ support gave me deeper blacks and brighter highlights on HDR content. While you won't be watching native 8K content yet, the receiver's upscaling handled the 4K source smoothly, and the picture quality felt a step up from my old receiver, which only did basic 4K pass-through. If you're into movies that push the envelope on color and contrast, that video handling is a solid, tangible benefit you'll notice right away. Now let's talk sound. The Cinema DSP 3D mode is designed to simulate the acoustics of famous concert halls, and in practice it adds a subtle sense of space without making the audio sound artificial. When I played a classic orchestral film score, the violins seemed to sit a little further back while the brass stayed up front, creating a more immersive feel than my previous soundbar ever gave me. For dialogue-heavy movies like dramas or sitcoms, the Vestia No3's mid-range clarity shone through. Names and jokes that usually get lost in a wash of sound were crisp, which is a big win for anyone who watches with the volume turned down a bit. Music listening is where the compressed music enhancer really made a difference for me. I tested a few streaming playlists that are typically encoded at 256 kbps. On my old system those tracks sounded a little flat, with high frequencies fading into the background. After enabling the enhancer, the same songs revealed a bit more sparkle on the cymbals and a clearer presence on the vocal sibilants. It's not a miracle cure for low bitrate files, but it does extract enough detail to make casual listening more enjoyable. If you're someone who streams a lot of pop or electronic music and you're not a high-end audiophile, this feature can give you a perceptible upgrade without having to purchase a separate DAC. Gaming performance is another practical angle. The RXV4A advertises lag-free gaming and smooth transitions between media sources. I paired the system with a current-gen console and used the receiver's game mode, which prioritizes low latency and dynamic range for game audio. In fast-paced shooters, the directional cues like footsteps coming from behind or the subtle whir of a helicopter were accurate enough that I could react a fraction faster than I could with my old setup. The receiver also kept the video frame rate stable, which is something many reviewers overlook but matters when you're trying to keep the action smooth. If you're a gamer who values both picture fidelity and precise sound placement, this bundle checks those boxes. Of course, no system is perfect. The biggest practical limitation I ran into was the lack of native Dolby Atmos support. The RX-V4A is a 5.2-channel receiver, so it can't drive upward-firing speakers or height modules that